Your bedroom is 6 feet from a nuclear missile. Not a model, not a display. A live Trident, 2D5 ballistic missile carrying 8 thermonuclear warheads, each 30 times more powerful than the bomb that destroyed Hiroshima. You sleep there. You eat breakfast 10 feet from another missile. You shower next to a third. For the next 90 days, you will live inside a 560-foot steel tube 300 feet below the ocean surface, surrounded by 24 of these weapons. You will never see sunlight. Never make a phone call, never know if your family is safe, and every single day you will train for the moment you hope never comes, the order to launch. This is life aboard the Ohio-class ballistic missile submarine, the most powerful weapons platform ever built, operated by sailors who live closer to nuclear weapons than anyone else on Earth. Today, we're going inside, and what you're about to see will change how you think about the people who carry the burden of nuclear deterrence. Welcome to the silent service. Welcome to life next to the missiles. The Ohio-class submarine was born from a terrifying question. How do you survive a nuclear first strike and still be able to retaliate? In the 1970s, American strategists realized that land-based missiles could be targeted and destroyed. Bombers could be caught on the ground. But submarines, hidden somewhere in 139 million square miles of ocean, were untouchable. So the Navy built the Ohio class, 560 feet long, 18,750 tons submerged, powered by a nuclear reactor that never needs refueling. 18 were constructed between 1981 and 1997. 14 still carry ballistic missiles today. 4 were converted to carry cruise missiles and special operations forces. Each ballistic missile submarine, SSBN in Navy terminology, carries 20 Trident 2D5 missiles. Each missile can strike targets 7,000 miles away with pinpoint accuracy. Each carries up to 8 nuclear warheads. Do the math. One submarine can carry 160 nuclear warheads. One submarine has more destructive power than all bombs dropped in World War II combined. And operating these submarines requires 155 sailors living in conditions that test the absolute limits of human endurance. They deploy on deterrent patrols, 77 to 90 days submerged, running silent, location unknown even to the Pentagon. 2 crews, blue and gold. Alternate patrols, so the submarine is almost always at sea. This means submariners spend roughly half their lives underwater. The mission is simple: remain undetected, stay ready, and if the order ever comes, launch. But the order has never come. For over 40 years, these submarines have carried their missiles, and the missiles have never been fired in anger. The crews train for the apocalypse, and they pray it never happens. Let's start with the most surreal part: where you sleep. The Ohio class has 4 decks in some sections. The missile compartment, a massive cylindrical space, houses the 24 Trident missiles arranged in 4 rows of 6. Each missile tube is 7 feet in diameter and rises through multiple decks. And between those tubes, crew quarters. Junior enlisted sailors sleep in missile alley racks built directly against the missile tubes. Your bed is a foam mattress on a metal frame, stacked 3 high with about 2 feet of clearance. You climb in feet first. Some sailors describe it as sleeping in a coffin, but instead of being buried underground, you're sleeping next to a nuclear missile. You can touch the tube. It's slightly warm. The missiles are climate controlled to maintain readiness. At night, you hear the environmental systems humming, keeping the weapons at precise temperature and humidity. Submariners say you get used to it. The first few nights, you lie awake thinking about what's on the other side of that steel wall. Eventually, it becomes just another piece of equipment. You're too exhausted from watch schedules to stay anxious. Still, every submariner remembers their first night in Missile Alley, staring at the tube 6 inches from their face, knowing what it contains and realizing this is home for the next 3 months. Privacy doesn't exist. Curtains are the only barrier between racks. Everyone hears everything: snoring, nightmares, whispered phone messages from family recorded before deployment. And through it all, the missiles stand ready, silent, waiting. Life aboard an Ohio class doesn't follow Earth time. The submarine operates on an 18-hour day, 6 hours on watch, 12 hours off, 6 on, 12 off, every day for 90 days. This schedule never aligns with your body's natural 24-hour rhythm. You're constantly jet-lagged. Sleep deprivation becomes chronic. Some sailors describe it as living in permanent twilight. You're never fully rested, never fully alert, just existing in a state of functional exhaustion. Your watch station depends on your rating, your job, specialty. Sonar technicians sit in dark rooms wearing headphones, listening for enemy submarines. Fire control technicians monitor weapons systems. Machinist mates tend the nuclear reactor. Cooks prepare 4 meals a day for 155 people in a galley the size of a small kitchen. Everyone works. There are no days off, no weekend. The submarine operates 24/7, and so do you. During your 12 hours off watch, you have to sleep. Good luck with 18-hour days. Eat. Meals are at specific times. Miss them, and you go hungry. Shower. 3 minutes twice a week to conserve water. Exercise. A tiny gym with a few machines. Study. Submarine qualification requirements. Maintain equipment. Cleaning, repairs, preventive maintenance. What you don't do: see sunlight, breathe fresh air, know what day it is, talk to your family. Communication is one way. Familygrams, short censored messages of 40 words or less, arrive irregularly. You receive them. You cannot respond. If your child is born, you find out days later. If a parent dies, the Navy decides whether to tell you immediately or wait until you surface. This is the deal submariners accept. Trade your connection to the world for 3 months in exchange for the mission. And the mission never stops. In an environment this confined, this isolated, this psychologically demanding, food becomes everything. Submarine food is legendary in the Navy, not because of exotic ingredients, but because it's good. The cooks are among the best in the military, and they have to be. Morale depends on meals. For the first 3 weeks, there's fresh food: eggs, milk, vegetables, fruit. Submariners call it the salad days. You eat well, the food is varied, and spirits are high. Then the fresh food runs out. For the remaining 2 months, it's frozen and canned. But the cooks work miracle, baking fresh bread daily, creating elaborate themed meals, celebrating birthdays and holidays with special dinners. The submarine even has mid-rats, midnight ration, a 4th meal for sailors coming off late watch, usually leftovers, sometimes freshly cooked burgers or breakfast. It's a small comfort, but in an environment stripped of almost everything pleasurable, food becomes a highlight of the day beyond food. Submariners develop their own culture. Movie nights in the cruise mess, card games, pranks, usually harmless, occasionally elaborate. Submarine qualification boards where junior sailors prove their knowledge to earn their dolphins. The submarine warfare insignia. There's also the beard policy. On deterrent patrols, enlisted sailors can grow beards, a tradition dating back to when submarines lacked adequate fresh water for daily shaving. Officers must stay clean-shaven. This creates a visible distinction. The scruffy enlisted crew, the clean-cut officers. But beneath the routines and traditions, there's an unspoken reality everyone lives with. You're here to launch nuclear missiles if ordered. Every drill, every training exercise, every simulated launch, you practice ending the world. It's a psychological burden that never fully goes away. Some sailors compartmentalize it, treat the missiles as just another weapons system. Others struggle with the moral weight. The Navy screens carefully for psychological stability, but even the strongest sailors admit it weighs on you, you're the trigger, and you hope to God no one ever pulls at 0300 hours. You're asleep in your rack when the alarm blares. Man battle stations missile. Set condition 1 SQ for strategic launch. This is a drill. You know it's a drill, but your body doesn't care. Adrenaline floods your system as you sprint to your station.
Strategic launch drills happen without warning at any time, day or night. They're designed to test one thing. Can the crew execute launch procedures flawlessly under pressure? Because if the order ever comes for real, there's no time for mistakes. The missile compartment transforms. Crew members man firing panels. The weapons officer and missile technicians begin pre-launch checks. In the control room, the captain and executive officer receive the emergency action message, an encrypted communication from the National Command Authority. The message is verified using code books sealed in safes. 2 officers independently authenticate the order. If both agree it's valid, the process continues. This is where the 2-person rule becomes critical. No single person can launch nuclear missiles. The captain and executive officer each have a key. They stand at separate panels, insert their keys simultaneously, and turn them within 2 seconds of each other. The keys are physically too far apart for one person to reach both. If both keys turn, the launch sequence begins. Missile tubes flood with seawater to equalize pressure. Hatch covers blow off. Compressed gas ejects the missile upward. It breaches the surface, the rocket motor ignites, and the missile arcs toward its target, 7,000 miles away. Flight time to Moscow, about 30 minutes. During drills, the crew executes every step except the final launch. They go through the motions: authentication, key turns, tube preparation. They practice muscle memory so that if the day ever comes, hesitation isn't possible. Afterward, there's a debrief. Timing is analyzed. Procedures are reviewed. Mistakes are corrected. Then everyone goes back to their routine. Another meal, another watch, another night sleeping next to the missiles. And the knowledge that next time, it might not be a drill. Not every crisis is a drill. And at 300 feet depth, in the middle of the ocean, when something goes wrong, help isn't coming. Fire is the submariner's greatest fear. Afterward, there's a debrief. Timing is analyzed. Procedures are reviewed. Mistakes are corrected. Then everyone goes back to their routine. Another meal, another watch, another night sleeping next to the missiles, and the knowledge that next time, it might not be a drill. Not every crisis is a drill. And at 300 feet depth in the middle of the ocean, when something goes wrong, help isn't coming. Fire is the submariner's greatest fear. In a sealed environment, fire consumes oxygen and produces toxic smoke with nowhere to go. The crew has emergency breathing devices stored throughout the boat, but fighting a fire while wearing a mask in smoke-filled corridors is a nightmare. The Ohio class has had fire incidents. In 2013, USS Wyoming experienced an electrical fire during patrol. The crew contained it quickly. Training saved lives, but the incident was a reminder. You're on your own down here. Then there's flooding, pipe ruptures, valve failures, hull breaches. Many of these can cause catastrophic flooding. The crew has seconds to seal watertight doors, isolating the flood before it spreads. Sometimes that means trapping sailors in the flooding compartment. The choice is brutal. Save the submarine or save the men. You save the submarine, because if the submarine sinks, everyone dies. Reactor emergencies are rare but terrifying. Loss of cooling, pressure spikes, radiation leaks. Any reactor incident requires immediate action. The crew trains extensively for these scenarios, but the stakes are existential. A reactor accident at depth, hundreds of miles from land with no surface ships nearby, you handle it yourself or you don't survive. The Navy's nuclear safety record is exemplary. But submariners know safety depends on constant vigilance, perfect maintenance, and crew competence. One mistake, one overlooked warning sign, and disaster follows. And through all of this, fires, floods, reactor emergencies, the missiles remain ready. The mission continues, because the Ohio class doesn't exist to be comfortable or safe. It exists to deter nuclear war, and that mission never stops, no matter what else is happening aboard. After 77 to 90 days submerged, the Ohio class finally surfaces. The crew gets their first sunlight in months, the first fresh air, the first connection to the world they left behind. Reintegration is harder than most people realize. Physically, submariners are changed. Vitamin D deficiency despite supplements, disrupted circadian rhythms that take weeks to normalize. Some lose weight from stress. Others gain it from limited exercise and calorie-dense food. Psychologically, the transition is jarring. You've lived in a world where everything was controlled, predictable, mission-focused. Now you're back in a world that's chaotic, overwhelming, and has moved on without you. Your kids have grown. Your spouse has adapted to life without you. Friends have had experiences you weren't part of. You feel like a ghost returning to a life that continued without you. The divorce rate among submarine crews is higher than the general Navy population. The strain of repeated deployments, months of silence, and the psychological burden of the mission takes a toll on families. Some marriages survive, many don't. The Navy provides counseling, family support programs, and reintegration assistance. But there's no manual for reconnecting with a child who doesn't remember you, or explaining to your spouse why you can't talk about what you did for 3 months. And yet, after a few months of shore leave, most submariners go back. They volunteer for another patrol, another 90 days underwater, another 3 months sleeping next to nuclear missiles. Why? Some say it's the camaraderie, the bond formed with the 154 other men who lived through the same experience. Some say it's the mission, believing that nuclear deterrence prevents war. Some say it's simply what they're good at, and the Navy needs them. But all of them carry the same burden. They know what those missiles can do. They've trained to launch them. And they've accepted the psychological weight of being the finger on the trigger of civilization's end. That's the cost of deterrence. And submariners pay it willingly. Right now, at this very moment, an Ohio-class submarine is on patrol. Somewhere in the Atlantic or Pacific, 300 feet down, 155 sailors are living next to nuclear missiles. They're sleeping in racks built against missile tubes. They know what those missiles can do. They've trained to launch them. And they've accepted the psychological weight of being the finger on the trigger of civilization's end. That's the cost of deterrence. And submariners pay it willingly. Right now, at this very moment, an Ohio-class submarine is on patrol. Somewhere in the Atlantic or Pacific, 300 feet down, 155 sailors are living next to nuclear missiles. They're sleeping in racks built against missile tubes. They're standing watch on 18-hour schedules. They're eating meals in a mess hall 20 feet from weapons that could end civilization. And they're training, constantly training, for a mission they hope never comes. This is the reality of nuclear deterrence. It's not abstract strategy or geopolitical theory. It's human beings living in extreme conditions, carrying an unbearable psychological burden so that nuclear war remains unthinkable. The strain of repeated deployments, months of silence, and the psychological burden of the mission takes a toll on families. Some marriages survive, many don't. The Navy provides counseling, family support programs, and reintegration assistance, but there's no manual for reconnecting with a child who doesn't remember you, or explaining to your spouse why you can't talk about what you did for 3 months. And yet, after a few months of shore leave, most submariners go back. It requires submariners who accept that if they ever launch their missiles, the world has already ended, and their job is to finish it. These aren't superheroes. They're ordinary people who've chosen an extraordinary duty. They miss their families. They struggle with the mission's moral weight. They get exhausted, frustrated, and homesick, but they stay. They train, they stand watch, and they sleep next to the missiles, because someone has to, because the mission matters, because nuclear deterrence has prevented World War III for 80 years, and it only works if submarines like the Ohio class are out there, hidden, ready, crewed by people willing to carry the burden. The next time you look at the ocean, vast, peaceful, unknowable, remember, beneath those waves right now, an Ohio-class submarine is out there. 55 sailors, 20 nuclear missiles, 160 warheads, silent, hidden, watching, and sleeping next to the weapons that could end the world. If you want to learn more about submarine life, check out our documentary on what happens when submarines lose power at depth, a scenario every submariner trains for, but prays never happens. Link on screen. Thanks for watching. And to the submariners of the Silent Service, thank you for the watch.